Okay, for today's project, we're going to do something that you've probably been doing since you were really little, and that is coloring. But I'm going to show you the different materials that you probably have at hand, either colored pencils, crayons, or markers. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how they work, what they work best for, and different techniques on how to use them. So let's get started. So to get started, we're going to start with the oldest ones and the ones you probably have the most experience with, and that is crayons. And we are going to set the other coloring utensils aside. So I have a mask here, and it is a butterfly mask for Halloween, getting ready for the holidays. And I'm going to show you some of the techniques I use to color using crayons. So many times when you start coloring, you want to get started right away and you just want to color as fast as you can or as hard as you can to get the color down, which works very well for these wax-based coloring devices. But what I'm going to try to do is a different technique where I outline the shape and then I fade it into the center. Now, with crayons, it's a little bit harder to do than with colored pencils, but it is possible. So I'm going to show you how to do this now. Okay, so I'm going to take my red crayon and I'm going to outline the edge so it's nice and dark. Nice and dark. And I can turn my mask and color the way it feels right. Make sure you get the edge real nice and dark. And then the next step is to just lightly shade inside the inside of this. Now it gives it a pretty cool look, even with the light and the dark ratio. If you were just going to do a light shading, and you just want to press lightly with your crayon. You don't need to press hard, you can just press lightly. So there you have it, you have your little area colored, and you can either move on or you can try to slowly fade the lines together so it looks like it's more three-dimensional. So the more time you take, the better it'll look. But for sake of example, I'm just going to outline and lightly shade each part. So my project's looking pretty good. I'm just picking some random colors and putting them in places. I'm inspired by the parrot, which is also a bird, not a butterfly, but these wings just remind me of parrot wings. So the only real planning I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that no two colors touch. So no two colors touch. That's hard to say. So that's my plan. I went and looked and I found a special crown, apricot crown, and I'm going to color the skin tone apricot. So we're using the same technique. I'm going to just outline the edge so I can make it dark. I'm going to outline the edge all the way around. Okay, now that we're finished with the crayons, we're going to take those and put those aside, and we're going to pull out our color pencils, and we're going to finish up the other half of this mask using pretty much the same technique. We're going to start on the outside, and we'll start with red this time like we did last time. Start on the outside, and we're going to make a nice dark line. Now you'll notice that the colored pencils take a little bit longer, but also they offer a lot more shading opportunities. So I'm going to start on the outside. I'm going to slowly go in towards the center. All around the edge, keep going around the edge, but slowly make it lighter. And it doesn't matter if you go over the places you've been, because those will naturally just get darker as you work your way in towards the center. So as you can see just from our very first section that we've colored, what the difference is. The crayon is a lot rougher and the colored pencil is much smoother. So I'm going to continue coloring the rest of this side of the mask and we'll check in just a few minutes. So we're coming up to a big area of the project, and it might be a little bit easier if instead of putting your pencil so that the tip is straight up and down, if you lean your pencil over and you color with the side of the pencil. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to show you how that is done now. So I'm going to color around the edge just like I normally would do. Nice dark red around the edge. Nice deep color. You can use the tip of the pencil to get this dark color in. And now I want to turn my pencil, and instead of holding it like this, I'm going to turn it on its side and slowly shade using the side of the pencil. This allows me to cover more area and color more quickly while still just lightly leaving color on the page. The really big difference with using colored pencils is that you have a small tip at the end so that you can get into the very tiny little cracks like this. So you can do more detail with colored pencils than you can with crayons. There you go, that was much easier. Also, another tip when you're coloring, sometimes it's hard to get the colors to blend. It's hard to get the purple to meet the light purple. So a good blending technique is after you've shaded in your area, colored it in, use the side of your pencil, done it correctly. You might notice that there's a bunch of lines and it doesn't look smooth at all. It's going all different directions. An easy way to fix that is to draw small circles around where it gets darker. So just do all sorts of little circles and the shading will smooth itself out. Get rid of all those straight lines so it doesn't look, so it looks a lot smoother. All right. I found a brown color pencil and I'm going to color in the skin tones on the other side using the same technique. Tracing around first and then coloring in. But like I said, you can do the swirl technique to make sure the skin looks nice and smooth. all in all, they didn't turn out too different. Actually, if I spent more time shading in and drawing small circles here, I'd be able to make this look much better. But there you have it. So this is crayons versus colored pencils, and that's what it looks like. It would be your choice to figure out which ones you want to use. Next, we're going to move on to markers. So we're going to put the colored pencils away. We're going to grab the markers that we have, and we are going to grab a new mask, and here we have a tiger mask. So we're going to do a rainbow tiger, and markers are pretty straightforward. They only really lay one shade of color. So when you color with a marker, you're pretty much going to either get a bold dark orange, a bold red, a bold blue, or a bold green, or a very bright purple. So I'm going to show you how to use markers, and you know how to use markers, so this is just going to be a time lapse of me coloring. Right, well, I found a nice pink marker, and I'm going to go ahead and color in the nose pink to finish off my coloring job. So markers are a little bit more messy. I have marker all over the sides of my hand from coloring, but as you can tell, sometimes you get a little bit of ink other places where you might not want it, especially if you're going to be using white as your base color. So although markers are very dark and you get a nice color, they can bleed a little bit and smear, so be careful with that. So for the final side, I was going to do a mixed medium using markers, crayons, and color pencils, but I think I'm going to let you experiment with that on your own. So to finish this project, you need to take your tongue depressor, turn over your project, get some Scotch tape, and tape your tongue depressor down onto the back of your project, like this. Once you've secured it down to your cardboard, now you have a mask that you can hold and wear around in front of your friends. That's the end of this art lesson today, so have fun coloring and good luck on your project. Bye!